Back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center here on Tuesday, Ohio State's first return practice from spring break, first day of practice in pads for the spring season, and also, maybe most interestingly, our first chance to ask Ryan Day about the abrupt departure of running backs coach Tony Alford last week going to Michigan. And, Ryan Day said a lot of the right things in terms of how personal this was felt either by him or the team, mostly just people got to do what they got to do, and we're moving on. We're gonna go play Michigan no matter who is coaching the team, and there'll be some players and some coaches over there, and we just have to win, which I suppose is true every year. But Stephen, how much does this matter? Losing Tony Alford in the second week of spring practice, losing a coach to Michigan, and the potential ramifications of having your game plan of the past 9 years in your rival's brain trust now. How much does that matter?
Like 10%. Because Ryan Day has to go find a coach for the position now, and that does matter. And you're not used to having to go find position coaches a week in the spring practice, so it matters that much. But as Ryan Day was putting it, it's only a week in the spring practice. They weren't even in pads. It's a lot of early install, a lot of the same basic stuff that they were doing every single year. So it's not like they got heavily into the game plan enough that even if you do have that fear of, Tony Alford's going to take this over to Michigan, you wasn't here for any of that stuff. It only matters in the sense of, okay, who has to run the room right now until Ryan Day finds a guy, which he said he's running the room, which has been an interesting development for him. But other than that, it's just something else Ryan Day has to do that he didn't think he was going to be having to do right now.
Andrew, do you think this is a distraction? Do you think it is something that interrupts the spring? Because from a timing standpoint, it seems to interrupt. But then at the same time, Ryan Day today said, well, actually, recruiting calendar isn't an issue for us right now. Transfer portal isn't an issue for us right now. They've got some time to figure this out.
Yeah, you're right. They have some time to figure this out. And I just think it might be a little bit overblown because you look at where we're at. I mean, we're recording this March 19th. It is March 19th. The transfer portal window doesn't open for another couple of weeks. Recruiting is very much in the season of unofficial visits. You're scheduling official visits. So any momentum you may have lost with recruits with Tony Alford, you can get back over the next couple of weeks and a couple of months, like with your new hire. Like, I think that it's a bigger deal that it's Michigan, and I think everybody kind of wants to make that a bigger deal. But like Steven was saying, with the game plan stuff, it's not a huge deal. You have a new quarterback, you have a new offensive coordinator calling plays, you have an entirely new kind of guy or group of guys that are going to come in and run the offense as a whole. So I think when you kind of map it out and you lay everything out and you go, you know what is going to change here? What's going to change here? There's going to be a lot that's going to change that Tony Alford just frankly wasn't around for. So I think it feels like a big deal. And then when you put the microscope on it, you're like, oh, well, actually, the recruiting's not going to be super impacted. And the game plan, I mean, his first week of February, second week of March when he left, like, I just think that on a closer inspection, you kind of realize, you know what, this might not be as big of a deal as everybody's kind of making it seem.
I think there's two issues. You're losing your running backs coach, and you're losing a 9-year assistant to Michigan. Losing your running backs coach, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. You lost a running backs coach. I'm sorry. I think Tony Alford's a good football coach. It does not matter to me that you lost your running backs coach in whatever way you lost him, even in the second week of the spring, and especially for this running backs room. I don't think Trevian Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and even Dallin Hayden need a lot of basic coaching going on right now. What they really need to do right now can probably be handled by the likes of Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, who's got a running backs coach background, and Tony Johnson, who's new in here as a program assistant, and Riley Larkin, who used to do it as a program assistant. Like, they've got plenty of guys around who can just play around with that. Keenan Bailey has worked with running backs in the past. Like, they've got guys who can help. So that is nothing. Losing your assistant to Michigan, like, what are the repercussions of that? I know there's a lot of concern out there among the fan base of what Tony Alford took with him, like some kind of Mission Impossible style, putting the thumb drive in and downloading everything real quick, or using some kind of optics. I don't even know what they're coming up with for that. Jotting stuff down on the back of napkins on his way out the door. Again, I think Tony Alford's a good football coach. If that befuddles Chip Kelly and Ryan Day come November, I think Ohio State's got bigger problems, and I really don't think that also is a huge issue. So I think I'm in agreement with you guys that this is not it's a big narrative. It's a big moment in the rivalry. I don't think it should have, as I'm standing here today, we all think it should not have really any impact on whether Ohio State football can win a national championship this year or not. And the other thing is, I asked Ryan Day today about kind of the balance between having stability and longevity on your staff and when that can sort of start to get stale. I was asking it more generally, but obviously it applies to the Tony Alford scenario. And what Ryan Day gets to do now is look out across college football, pinpoint which running backs coach he wants to hire the most, go get that guy if he can. He said that there's like an A tier, B tier, C tier, the way he did with the offensive coordinator position. I doubt they have to get all the way down to C, as they didn't with that job either. And you get to bring someone in who's a new voice, a new perspective, some new expertise, some different expertise, some different way of looking at the game, different way of coaching the position. You can potentially take Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and show them something new that makes them even better this year. So I think it is. It's definitely going to be something that people talk about from here until Thanksgiving weekend. It'll definitely be talked about again a lot Thanksgiving weekend. But Ohio State is moving on, and I think that is an easy thing to do because as much as you feel it emotionally, from a practical standpoint, should not make a big difference at the end of the day. We're going to talk more about that on Buckeye Talk, and you can get the text 614-350-3315. Everything we heard today from Ryan Day was going there immediately from cleveland.com.